Welcome to Brighten Your Corner Ministry. My name is Cindy Ann Lewis Walcott, and we are studying life lessons from the Holy Bible. You don't have to be religious, these lessons are for holistic living. Today's lesson I call um, a time of mourning. What's the appropriate time to mourn or to grieve? And we're going to study this lesson in Genesis chapter 50, verse 3. Oftentimes I get asked what's an appropriate time to grieve, how long should I take to mourn, and I often say it's basically up to you. I am going to read this text because I find it to be a great guideline, a great waymark. So Genesis chapter 50 verse 3. So now before I read, let me tell you, Jacob has died, and we're looking now at what's happened after his death. Uh, and 40 days were fulfilled for him, for so are fulfilled the days of those which are embalmed. And the Egyptians mourned for him 60 and 10 days. So 60 and 10 days, it's about 2 months and 10 days, or maybe 2 months and a half. I know most people, and actually we're even seeing here the 40 days of embalming, and I think that get transferred into a culture. I don't really have an explanation for it, because in our culture there's a thing called 40 days praise or something after somebody's passed. So maybe that has something to do with the 40 days of embalming here. But in terms of mourning, um, we're seeing here it's 70 days, so it's about 2 months. If we put in 30 days a month, the averaging, it's about 2 months and a half, or close to 2 months and a half. And I know oftentimes mother-in-laws have problems with daughter-in-laws who, as soon as their sons passed or their husbands passed, they went ahead and got married really quickly. They moved on really quickly. And we have dealt with moving on from, burying the dead, leaving the dead back there, moving forward. But we never really had a text or an example in the Bible about the period for mourning. And I think this is a great guideline or great waymark. So rather than get upset and say, her husband just died and she's married already, we can look at this text here and set it as our guideline. Say, oh, well, it's almost 3 months. It's over 2 months and a half. So maybe it's time for them to move on based on this Bible text. It's still a personal thing. You move on when you're ready to. Just don't get yourself stuck in that place. But it's okay to move on quickly, in my opinion, based on this text. It's still, I hope this text will be able to enlighten some people who get caught up in, well, this person didn't take much time in moving on, and and maybe she didn't like him or he didn't like her, or so on. And it's not, I know we're dealing with it here in terms of mourning and grief and death, but it can also mean for relationships and so on. Give yourself a period to clear your mind, maybe about 70 days. You can use this as an example as well. I know in some cultures you're not allowed, like for example, if a husband died, the wife has to stay in mourning for the rest of her life. She'll never marry again, and she wears black. She's always mourning the loss of her husband. They have some stipulations, but some cultures are like that. And then there are some cultures that prescribe the time for mourning. So they'll say, well, in a year you can move on. Whether it's for your parents or your spouse, they would tell you, that culture will tell you when it's time to move on. We on this side, we don't have a prescribed time for moving on, and that's why we get all these conflicts, and probably family breakdown and so on, because we don't have a prescribed time. So this is a great example for us here, where, because most of us in this culture are Christians, we can look into the Bible and we see here they're going to mourn for Jacob for 70 days, 70. So let that be a good marker, a good guideline for you to follow. As you can say, okay, well, I mean, I still feel hurt. I feel that about the loss, And I would have liked to have my daughter-in-law show a little bit more hurt, or the same amount of hurt like I feel before moving on, or my son-in-law before moving on. But based on this Bible principle, it's a good thing to move on, and it's an appropriate amount of days and so on. I am not saying you just, give up on everything. I'm just saying this is a good example to follow. So to avoid conflicts, and maybe to come to better terms with each other and understanding each other, because we all have different tolerance levels and an acceptance level. But let the Bible be a guide for you in this situation. How long you need to grieve, or how long someone should mourn the passing of a dear loved one, there's an example here for us. I'm very happy about this, because oftentimes I find that is what creates conflicts in families. They're moving on too quickly, and what creates problems within the individual is that they've stayed in that place too long. So a grieving state too long. So just look here, Genesis chapter 50 verse 3. You can read the entire chapter if you feel like it's a great read. And you would see the process of them moving from here in Goshen back to Canaan, and what happens. But the number here is really significant, I think, in helping us to move forward and understand each other and live better with our fellow men. I hope this would be enlightening to you or to somebody you know. This is the objective of this lesson. Please remember to share, like, give me a thumbs up, and subscribe. Have a beautiful day now. Bye-bye.